Assalamu alaikum. My topic of discussion is Introduction to Judicial System in India. When you see a judge or magistrate sitting in the court, you are actually looking at results of thousand years of legal evolution. Law in India primarily evolved from customary practice and religious prescription to modern well-codified acts and laws based on constitution. In comparison with modern law, classical Hindu law was a peculiar legal system as it followed unique scheme of values. Ancient India represented a distinct tradition of law and had historically independent school of legal theory and practice. The Indian populace at that time accustomed to the idea of living under law and had court system to deal with civil and criminal cases. Thus, India has oldest judiciary in the world. The present judicial system is not sudden creation. The evolution of today's judicial system traces back to earliest the Vedic ages Arthashastra, Upanishad, and Manusmriti. Though recorded history of law starts only in Vedic period, it is widely believed that ancient India had some sort of legal system in place even during Bronze Age and Indus Valley civilization. The ancient Aryan rulers of India were confronted by many political, economic, and social problems, in many ways similar to those in which modern statesmen and social reformers are struggling. But the freedom and general happiness enjoyed by Indians during Aryan, both before and after 5th century AD, can hardly compare to freedom and general happiness attained by people of Great Britain with the help of parliamentary institutions and richest revenues of the world. From 300 AD to 1192 AD, India was the world's most developed country. Its GDP was equivalent to 25% of the world's GDP, which was impossible without some justice dispensing system during that golden age. On the other hand, some foreign jurists and historians opined that there was no rule of law at that time. Then, which were the rules which led to such tremendous development? Well, judicial system in India is divided into three different stages. Number one, judicial system in India, that is pre-Islamic invasion, judicial system in medieval age, and judicial system in British rule. Thank you.
I'll discuss about the judicial system in ancient India. Although India has the oldest judiciary in the world, no other judicial system has a more antique or exalted pedigree. But historically, the judicial system of India can be classified into three stages. The first one is judicial system in ancient India, that is pre-Islamic invasion. The second one is judicial system in Muslim era, and the third one is judicial system in British rule. Pre-Islamic invasion means the early Muslim conquest, Fatuhat Islamiyah, also referred to as the Arab conquest, and the early Islamic conquest began with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the 7th century. He established a new unified polity in the Arabia, which under the subsequent Rashidun and Umayyad caliphates saw a century of rapid expansion. The concept of dharma is important in judicial system in ancient India. But before I tell you about the word dharma, let me tell you about the word dharma. Dharma derived from word dhar, which means sustain, uphold, maintain, and nourish. Now, the concept dharma ruled an Indian civilization from Vedic period up to the Muslim invasion. Vedic period was the period in the history of India during which the Vedas, means the oldest sanctified texts of Hinduism, were being composed. Everyone was bound by dharma from king to his last servant. There was a name of dharma. What is that? The aim which was for the welfare of the state and to its people. Dharma deals with duty, religion, and indivisible quality of the things are order. Legal philosophy of ancient India was based on the Vedas, means texts such as Simriti and Shruti. Simriti stands for universal, eternal, and fundamental principles, while Smriti stands for a group of values derived from that fundamental principles and finding the expression in limited, temporary, and relative field of social life. Swami Vivekananda said that in our books, a clear distinction was made between the two truths, The first set belongs to which abides forever, being built on the nature of man, nature of soul, and soul's relation to God, and so on. The second set belongs to the minor laws working in everyday life. The seers often use dharma in association with rata and satya. Sri Vidyarnya defines rata as a mental perception and realization of God. According to Sankara Bhagavatada, Satya means speaking the truth and Dharma means translating Satya into action. यानी सत्या का मतलब सच बोलो और धर्म का मतलब अपने धर्म को, अपने काम को सच्चाई से सरंजाम दो. In short, रत्ता का मतलब आपकी सोच में सच, सत्या का मतलब आपके अल्फाज में सच और धर्म का मतलब आपके कर्मों में सच. There are 10 essential rules for the observance of dharma, which was prescribed by ancient sage Manu. Manu was a spiritual son of Brahma in Manusmriti. Manusmriti was a religious text of Indians that are dhiti, patience, shama, forgiveness, dhamma, piti or self-control, asteya, honesty, chosh, sanctity, indra, nigra, control of senses, dhi, reason, vidya, knowledge or learning, satya, truthfulness, and the last one, krodh, absence of anger. At last, what you call dharma? Dharma permits us that if our Paramatman or Paramatma is a combination of two words. Pram means supreme and Atma means soul. So collectively it means supreme soul. If our supreme soul draws onto himself, we must abide himself and abide without fail and perform our duties to him as well as to the world. Actually, these duties constitute dharma. We must follow the dharma of our great men that they have pursued from generation to generation. If we follow that dharma, we must learn the principles of righteous path, harmony, unity, and eternal love. Thank you.
I'll discuss about the rule of law in ancient India. So what's the rule of law? Rule of law means the absolute supremacy or the predominance of the law and not of the man. British writers, while justifying their colonial rule in India, claimed Indians lacked civilized system of self-rule and their presence in this country gave India a sense of the justice and rule of law. But this is a blatant lie. If we go back into the ancient India, we find that in fact there was no match for the rule of law that exists in the ancient India. If we talk about the references about the rule of law, first it can be found in the Mahabharata. Maha means great and Bharata means the epic of the Bharata dynasty. That's an important source of the information on the development of Hinduism between 400 BC and 200 BC and regarded as a text about the Hindu moral law. It states that a king who, after having sworn that he shall protect his subject but fails to protect them should be executed like a mad dog. If we compare this line with that of an England that king can do no wrong, then we can conclude that how the English writers dare to say that Indian ancient legal system is absurd. A king is king until he fulfills his duties or follow his oath in protecting the lives, property, or honor of his subjects. The people should execute a king who does not protect them but deprives them of their property and assets and who takes no advice or guidance from anyone. That shows the arbitrariness. Such a king is not a king but a misfortune, means a disaster. Furthermore, in Arthashastra, that's an ancient Indian Sanskrit on the statecraft, economic policy, and the military strategy, the writer of which is Kautilya. He describes that in the happiness of his subjects, means he is describing the duties of a king. In the happiness of his subjects lies the king's happiness, in their welfare, his welfare. Whatever pleases him, he shall not consider as good, but whether pleases his people, he shall consider to good. It means power is vested into the king for the welfare of the people, goodness, and what makes people happy, that's obviously equality, fairness, and the democratic laws. And in return, these are the duties of a king to uphold the rule of the law. Concept of the rule of law can be traced back to the Upanishad. Upanishads are the philosophical religious texts of Hinduism which explains the fundamental tenets of the religion. It states the law is the king of the king. It's more powerful and rigid than the king. There is nothing higher than the law. By its powers the weak shall prevail or the strong and justice shall triumph. King himself was subject to law. The arbitrary power was unknown to Indian political theory and the jurisprudence. The king's right to govern was subject to the fulfillment of his duties, the breach of which resulted in a forfeiture of the kingship. And if we talk about the judicial system, the judges were independent and subject only to the law. Thank you.